Hits 106, Greatest Hits Radio. That's Billy Joel. Only the good die young. That's why I'm still here, and I'm imagining that's why my guest, Henry Gross, has got to show The One Hit Wanderer tomorrow night at the Murray Theater, Ruth Eckerd Hall. I think that's why you're still here too, Henry. I mean, you grew up in the era of rock and roll, and shall we say that like certain powders were prevalent, and just everybody's kind of whacked out, especially at Woodstock. And how have you survived all that? You seem to
I didn't really get involved in that.
No,
you know, I didn't get involved in that all the time. I'm saying that now, but then I didn't. I was told 15 years later I spent the whole day on Sunday in Woodstock with Jerry Garcia, just he and I didn't remember it. but other than that.
That's pretty cool. So the show tomorrow night, Murray Theater, Ruth Eckerd Hall, a special theater. Tell us about the show, what we can expect when we come to see it tomorrow night.
Well, the show is about just under 90 minutes, and it's a show about growing up, my relationship with my dad, which was pretty interesting, and it's through various memorabilia that I've kept over the years that I talk about. I tell stories about my life that are probably very similar to your life. And the stories I tell about my dad are probably stories that are similar to yours. And like I said to you, the point of the show is that the hits you have really aren't on the radio. They're your life. They're in your life. They're in your box. And everybody has a box buried in the closet somewhere, taped up, that you open one day, hopefully, and you see pictures of your life, when you were kids, when life was different, in the great days.
Back when human beings still ruled the world.
That's right.
Instead of machines.
That's right. Instead of giant corporations.
Exactly. And you're a New York guy. And
Brooklyn.
There's actually, believe it or not, people in Florida that came here from New York.
Do you know why John Gotti missed his dental appointment?
No.
He forgot about it. But anyway.
That's not in the show, is it?
No.
Oh, that was free then. Thank you very much.
Not in the show.
I'm going to read some sports here, and I see you brought your guitar. I'm going to make some coffee. Maybe we could get you jacked up on caffeine and have you perform a song or something.
That's a different union, I'm sorry.
Oh, well, all right, we're going to...
Oh, this is a right to work.
As soon as we get the locker for the guitar, then we'll have him play. But you will play something, right?
Sure.
Even something instrumental. I don't care what you...
Yeah.
Hits 106, Greatest Hits Radio. That's Bob Seger. Good morning, Marvelous Marvin in the studio. Before we let him go, we're going to chat. He's going to play a song with us. Henry Gross, his show tomorrow night, One Hit Wanderer at the Murray Theater, Ruth Eckerd Hall. That is at 8 o'clock. It's going to be a show that you don't want to miss. It's all about your life in a box.
No, I was not knowing my parents were lovely people.
You'll leave in a box. No, something like that.
Yeah, well, it's a box of memorabilia and
talking about memories, how about a lot of celebrities How about Jack Benny?
Now, I never met Jack Benny, but Jack Benny was, for those of you who are under 60, Jack Benny was one of the greatest comedians that ever lived, and he made films. He started out in radio, and he made films, and his last film was a movie called The Horn Blows at Midnight, and I'm reading a book about him right now. I'm a big fan of Jack Benny's, as was Johnny Carson and so many others. He was he had great pauses. He would say, well, and just leave a space and get a huge laugh doing nothing. His timing was probably the greatest timing of any comedian, and everyone studies him. So he did this movie called The Horn Blows at Midnight, and it was a big stiff. I mean, it died, and kind of ended his movie career. So he was going into Warner Brothers. He drove up to the Warner Brothers gate one day. This is a true story. And he says, the guard didn't recognize him. He says, or didn't let him in. And he said, wait a minute. He says, I'm Jack Benny. You know haven't you heard of my film, The Horn Blows at Midnight? And the guard says, no, I directed it.
And that is showbiz.
One of my favorite stories.
That's exactly how showbiz is, and you've lived a showbiz life. You'll be talking about that tomorrow night. And you brought your guitar, so I figured
that's right.
We would use your amazing talents, not just to strum behind sports and weather, but to maybe play us an actual song here.
All right.
Everybody's telling me I'm guilty of a felony. I took somebody's melody and put it in my song. I admit I'm lazy and remembering my daisy, but I'd never be so crazy, cause I still know right from wrong. Been high enough to see over the mountain, been high enough to fly above the rain, and down so low, stole pennies from the fountain, been high enough to toss toss them back again. Every day my honey says my jokes are not so funny, and I better earn some money if I wanna get her love. 'Cause I know what I'm missing. I'm a man on a mission, got a strong inner vision, and I thank the stars above. Been high enough to see over the mountain, been high enough to fly above the rain, been down so low, stole pennies from the fountain, been high enough to toss them back again. I believe it's down to fate, whatever's meant to be. What I am and what I am is good enough for me. High enough to see over the mountain, high enough to fly above the rain, been down so low, stole pennies from the fountain, high enough to toss them back again, been high enough to feel I really made it, been high enough to throw it all away, had a winning hand and I overplayed it, been high enough to see it's all a game, been high enough to know it's just a game.
Henry Gross, that was great. What's that song called?
High Enough.
That's a beautiful song. Is that a personal story or?
Yes, it is. It's funny. You know, right after Shannon came out, my lawyer got all these letters from people claiming they wrote it.
No.
So he wrote back to their lawyers saying, "Send us what you think you wrote." And nobody ever sent anything.
There you go. Henry
Gotta
Gross,
try.
the one-hit wanderer. You can't fool Henry, by the way. Ruth Eckerd Hall, Murray Theater tomorrow night. He helped found Sha-Na Na, the great song Shannon, and just a creative dynamo, a musical genius. Can I say that? Wonderful guy, and a fun guy to hang around with, and a guy that can talk. And
It's been great talking to you. No, and Marv is great, because Marv, by the way, unbeknownst to his audience, knows almost as much as I do about W.C. Fields,
Almost,
which
yes.
which is humbling to meet a man educated properly in the great art of comedy.
What can you say? What can you
It's
say?
always a pleasure.
You know, I'm sure, Henry, when you play places, people can't applaud like this.
They applaud like this. It's so
Up
proud
and
of them
down,
to
it's
applaud
so
like
proud.
this.
Get your tickets now. Murray Theater tomorrow night. Henry Gross, the one-hit wonder. Henry, thank you so much. It's always
Thank you.
a
It was
joy.
a great pleasure, and please come down, folks. We'd love to see you.
That's at the Murray Theater. Ruth Eckerd Hall tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Henry Gross, one-hit wonder. You go see that show, you're going to be very glad that you did.